Chapter 91. 91 I can You are listening at novelfull.audio. 91 I can, you do. Sister Ran, you know. Ji Wenfeng and Fong Tong Tong looked at Shi Ran in unison. Girl, black mask, black shirt, black pants, brown hair, low ponytail, traces of foundation on the back of her hand. Makeup artist. Ji Wenfeng and Fong Tong Tong. Sister Ran, you're so observant. Fong Tong Tong was shocked. Also in the powder room, she had not seen the person who had recorded it. Even after Sister Ran's description, she couldn't think of who that person was. If it's the crew's makeup artist, it shouldn't be hard to find. Ji Wenfeng rubbed his chin. The next second, he picked up his phone. Help me find out about all the makeup artists present in the public dressing room for today. After he hung up, he asked suspiciously, how did you determine she was the one who recorded it? I saw the phone in her hand. Shi Ran leaned back in her chair, a little lazy. You saw it. Ji Wenfeng was surprised. At that time, her camera was more focused on Gong Jiling. I thought it was her anti-fan and ignored her. Shi Ran frowned. This was indeed her oversight. She had not expected to be set up in the end. Aim at Gong Jiling. Ji Wenfeng's eyes flashed with deep thought. That's a little strange. While they were discussing it, Ji Wenfeng had already received the makeup artist's information. He printed it out, then handed it to Shi Ran. See which one it is. Shi Ran flipped through the pages filled with photos of the makeup artists. This one. She pointed to the girl with single eyelids in the last photo. Ji Wenfeng glanced at the information and muttered, single-parent family. Father owes 500,000 yuan and has a younger brother, that's terrible. Fong Tong Tong felt sorry for her. Ji Wenfeng found the contact details of the makeup artist and called her directly. The call was quickly answered. Ji Wenfeng first introduced himself briefly to the other party, then asked, I want to buy the videotape of the dressing room from you. I don't know what you mean by that. The woman was still playing dumb. The fact that I found you means I have proof that you took it. It's taboo for makeup artists to record on set without permission. Once this gets out, no crew will hire you. Are you going to deny it even though you know the consequences? The makeup artist was so shocked, she stuttered. It seems that Miss Chen is not afraid of this consequence. Sorry to disturb you. Ji Wenfeng was about to hang up. Wait, the makeup artist shouted urgently. Ji Wenfeng smiled confidently. I didn't mean to film it, but I really need money. Gong Jiling is arrogant and rich, so I just wanted to ask her for money. I didn't expect her to edit the video and put it online. The makeup artist explained frantically. Do you still have the negatives, then? No, I gave it all to Gong Jiling, the makeup artist said apologetically. I really didn't expect it to turn out like this. I just really need money. Seeing that the other party was about to cry from anxiety, Ji Wenfeng did not force her anymore. He spread his hands helplessly at Shi Ran. It seems that the best way is also broken. We have to use another method. What way? Fong Tong Tong asked. Find the crew and spend money to make them tell the truth. Money makes the world go round, Ji Wenfeng said as he started to look for the contact details of the crew members. At this moment, Shi Ran suddenly said, actually, there's a simpler and faster way. Ji Wenfeng stopped rummaging. The video is with Gong Jiling. Just hack her computer. Ji Wenfeng and Fong Tong Tong. Hacking. Hacking a computer isn't that simple. Ji Wenfeng wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry. First, it would be expensive to find a hacker who could hack into someone else's computer and remain undetected. Second, we don't have the appropriate channels. Neither the cost of time nor the cost of money is cost-effective. Ji Wenfeng thought that she did not understand hackers, so he explained patiently. Unexpectedly, Shi Ran stood up casually and said, I can. In the car. Chu Jinshan was still flipping through the trending searches. The more he read, the more dangerous his expression became. San Yu stole a glance in the rearview mirror. After pondering for a while, he said carefully, Third young master, Miss Wen is quite concerned about Miss Shi. Do you want to call her back? Oh. Chu Jinshan slowly closed the tablet and smiled wickedly. Concerned how? Thinking that Chu Jinshan was interested in this topic, San Yu was delighted. Miss Wen called and asked me to tell you. She said she knew you cared about Miss Shi, so she asked me to let you know. She's thoughtful. Chu Jinshan smiled faintly. San Yu nodded quickly. That's right. I didn't expect Miss Wen to be so understanding. She might still be waiting for news from you, third young master. Why don't you? Before he could finish, he met the dark, shadowed eyes in the rearview mirror. San Yu was shocked and quickly shut his mouth. Third young master, I'm sorry. I overstepped my boundaries, that he actually dared to interfere in third young master's matters. This was a big taboo for third young master. Chu Jinshan tapped the tablet with his index finger and said in an ambiguous tone, I think you're quite considerate of her. Why don't you be her assistant? Third young master, please forgive me. San Yu broke out in cold sweat and was terrified. After a long time, in San Yu's anxiety, Chu Jinshan said, don't do it again. Yes. After that, San Yu did not dare to speak again, let alone mention Wen Yufei. When they arrived at Star City Entertainment, Chu Jinshan got out of the car. Qiu Yaohang, who was waiting at the door, ran over and asked anxiously, what happened? Why did you suddenly ask me to rush over? I want to go in and find someone. What else? Qiu Yaohang asked expectantly. Finding him couldn't be the only thing. No more. Qiu Yaohang gave a fake smile. So you asked me here so that I could bring you in. What the hell was he expecting? Shit. He was having so much fun at the party with beautiful women. Because of Jinshan's call he had immediately rushed over, only to be told that he was just a tool. Chu Jinshan had already walked in. Qiu Yaohang looked at the sky speechlessly and finally followed him in. Who are you here to see? Shi Ran isn't in the office. Ji Wenfeng. Chu Jinshan walked out of the elevator. Qiu Yaohang immediately understood. So it was about the trending topic. The three of them walked towards Ji Wenfeng's office. Da-da-da-da, the tapping of the keyboard continued without pause. What sound? Qiu Yaohang was puzzled. Could Wenfeng have been drunk and used the keyboard as a DJ station? Ji Wenfeng's office was lit up white. The windows on this side of the corridor were wide open. The light cast a white glow on the ground. They walked to the window and first saw Ji Wenfeng and Fang Tongtong standing by the desk, dumbfounded. And on the desk, the black keyboard clicked with a pair of plain white hands. Shi Ran sat in front of the computer, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Her expression was focused, her hands so fast they were almost afterimages. The light from the screen hit her face, accentuating her delicate features. Ji Wenfeng was already dumbfounded. 5 minutes ago Shi Ran had said she could. At the time, he had thought that she meant that she could find someone. He never expected that Shi Ran would have to hack someone's computer personally. Ji Wenfeng gaped for a long moment before asking, are you a hacker? Chapter 92. 92 Jealous of a Friend. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 92 Jealous of a Friend. I guess so, Shi Ran responded casually without stopping. In her previous world, hackers had been nothing more than a basic skill to everyone. But here, hacking was a profession, and most of those who knew how to hack hid in the shadows. Outside the window, Chu Jinshan's lips curled up when he heard this, but his eyes narrowed slightly. Qiu Yaoheng revealed the same expression as Ji Wenfeng. Hacker. She's lying, right? She's just rehearsing her lines, isn't she? They were definitely rehearsing. San Yu rubbed his nose. He was surprised. But even if she was a hacker, she must be a small-time one. As he thought about it, he glanced at Chu Jinshan's back. Third young master had seen the most skillful hackers before. Miss Shi was just embarrassing herself in front of third young master. Chu Jinshan did not stay outside for long. He walked straight in. Third young master. Ji Wenfeng recovered from his shock and was a little surprised. So third young master had just asked where he was to find him. Because of what had happened to Shi Ran. Or was it about Yufei? Shi Ran also noticed Chu Jinshan. As soon as she looked up, she met those deep black eyes. It was still that familiar smile. Only today, something didn't seem right. Without much thinking, she continued what she was doing. Rehearsing your lines. When did Shi Ran take on a hacker role? Qiu Yaoheng said as he walked briskly behind Shi Ran. He wanted to see whether this sister was pretending to be a hacker and that she was actually playing Super Mario. Ji Wenfeng guessed that Qiu Yaoheng had misunderstood. At first he didn't want to believe it either. He smiled with interest at that. You'll see. Qiu Yaoheng walked behind Shi Ran and took a closer look. Codes flashed across the screen. A second later, the black background changed and a computer desktop appeared. No games, just typing. But soon, he realized that there was something wrong with this desktop. Compared to a normal computer desktop, this one was a little blurry. It was more like the other party's computer interface when controlled remotely. Immediately after, he watched as Shi Ran opened the folder. The username on it clearly read, Gong Jiling. Wasn't Gong Jiling one of the hottest topics tonight? His eyes widened and he exclaimed, Sister Shi Ran, have some tea, Chu Jinshan said with a smile. Qiu Yaoheng swallowed the words he was about to say. He walked toward the sofa, looking back every 3 steps. It was actually true. Shi Ran was really a hacker. Damn. Why didn't they let him ask? Was he afraid that he would disturb Shi Ran? San Yu glanced at Qiu Yaoheng, whose mouth could fit an egg. It seemed that Miss Shi did have some hacking skills. But it's not that amazing, was it? It could be seen that CEO Qiu had seen too few hackers. He stood behind Chu Jinshan with his eyes lowered, his expression filled with contempt. Ji Wenfeng poured them each a cup of tea before asking tentatively, Third young master, you came over because... He waited a few seconds to hear no response. He turned his head. Chu Jinshan supported his chin with his hand and looked at Shi Ran with a smile in his eyes. It was as if no one could catch his eye except for the scenery in front of him. Ji Wenfeng stopped talking. The answer was obvious. The reason third young master was here was because of the situation. Qiu Yaoheng drank his tea, his eyes turning in the direction of Shi Ran. A minute felt like a year. Shi Ran finally stood up. Ji Wenfeng and Qiu Yaoheng jumped up as if they had been electrocuted and rushed to Shi Ran. Fong Tongtong's lips twitched. She found it hard to believe that these 2 men were so unsettled. One was a top manager, and the other was the founder of Star City Entertainment. Fong Tongtong, who was standing behind Shi Ran, thought. Ji Wenfeng opened the video. Well, the discordant amorous sounds played in a loop around the office. Everyone was speechless. Ji Wenfeng cursed in his heart. He clicked off the video without looking at it. Did you open your file? Qiu Yaoheng was overjoyed. It's not mine. Ji Wenfeng gritted his teeth and said. He turned to Shi Ran, looking embarrassed now. Did you misplay the video? Shi Ran picked up the pillow from before and held it in her arms, blinking. There were some selfie videos of her with other men in her files. I copied them together. You saw each and every one of them. Chu Jinchen glanced at the pillow in Shi Ran's arms and asked in a low voice. It has an album cover, Shi Ran replied succinctly. She had no interest in this kind of video, so naturally she couldn't click on it. F***ck. Xiao Yaohang shouted, it's really Gong Jiling. Did you really hack her computer? Shi Ran nodded. Not bad, Sister Shi Ran. I didn't expect you to be so secretive. Xiao Yaohang teased as he turned his gaze to the computer. Looking at the video of the dressing room, he asked curiously, it took a long time, didn't it? Quite long, Shi Ran replied lightly. San Yu glanced at her. It must have taken one whole night. She was indeed a low-level hacker. It took her that long to hack into someone else's computer. Is 3 minutes a long time? Ji Wenfeng asked quietly. It had been exactly 3 minutes since then. She actually said it took her quite long. 3 minutes. You call that long? Xiao Yaohang's voice almost broke. What's the difference between 3 minutes and a second in a man's mind? They were all fast men. San Yu was also shocked. 3 minutes. How was that possible? A low-level hacker couldn't have done it so fast. Even San Mu, a hacker on the black hat list, couldn't do it unless he knew the other party's IP address in advance. Right. IP address. He looked up and smiled. Maybe Miss Shi knew the other party's IP address in advance. It took 2 minutes just to find Gong Jiling's IP address on Weibo, Ji Wenfeng said on her behalf. Fong Tongtong pouted. It's all because most of her Weibo posts were posted by her studio. It wasn't easy for her to find one that she posted at home. In other words, after Shi Ran found out the IP address, he only used a minute to hack into Gong Jiling's computer. Xiao Yaohang was so shocked that he didn't know what to say. In the end, he could only give her a thumbs up. You're awesome. He then left the rest to Ji Wenfeng. Xiao Yaohang walked over and was about to sit beside Shi Ran to gossip about the hacker. As he bent his leg, a piercing gaze fell on his hip, which was about to touch the sofa. He straightened with a whoosh and laughed dryly. Doing squats. He moved to his original position as he spoke. Jinchen was so jealous. He was even jealous of a friend. So the hacker friend you mentioned before was yourself? Chu Jinchen asked casually. Yeah. San Yu recovered from his shock and looked at Shi Ran with a different gaze. But when he saw Chu Jinchen's expression, his heart tightened. Third young master hated deception. Miss Shi was hiding and lying. It seemed like she had angered third young master. Xiao Yaohang clearly knew Chu Jinchen's personality. At this moment, he also felt that something was amiss. Jinchen was angry. He had rarely seen Jinchen care so much about someone. Anyone would be angry if someone they cared about lied to them, let alone Jinchen, who hated deception. At this thought, he looked at Shi Ran sympathetically. Take care, Sister Shi Ran. Chu Jinchen pointed at the cup for a long time. Xiao Yaohang and San Yu's breathing stopped for a moment. Here it comes. He was starting to question her. He said slowly, why did you hack the drone when you were dating by Jing Tian that day? Chapter 93. 93 is my person someone he can bully. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 93 is my person someone he can bully. Xiao Yaohang and San Yu. It was an interrogation, all right. But why wasn't the imagined crossbow drawn? Instead, what was with the sour smell? Hack the drone. Xiao Yaohang's focus quickly shifted. He winked at Shi Ran. Sister Shi Ran, what exciting things did you all do? Hacking the drone on the show and disappearing. Before he could finish, he felt a cold gaze fixed on him. He quickly looked up at the ceiling-mounted light. That's a nice light. San Yu also admired Qiu Yaoheng. How dare he joke at a time like this? Not to mention young Master Qiu, even if Miss Shi didn't give an explanation today, third young master would definitely not stop. Seeing Qiu Yaoheng like this, Shi Ran couldn't help but laugh. She turned to Chu Jinchen and deliberated for a moment before saying, because it's not convenient to publicize the itinerary. So you hacked the drone. What kind of trip is inconvenient? Qiu Yaoheng asked immediately. A trip that couldn't be made public could only be due to a certain reason. What else could it be? He secretly glanced at Chu Jinchen, who was smiling beautifully. Mother of God! Third young master was made a cuckold. No. Third young master was not even qualified to be cuckolded. It seemed even more pitiful. Shi Ran didn't answer, but only picked up the tea on the table and took a sip. She could sense that Chu Jinchen was unhappy. But why? You want to know? Shi Ran was troubled. If Chu Jinchen wanted to know, should she say it? Qiu Yaoheng nodded vigorously. Want? Of course I want. No, Chu Jinchen replied. Qiu Yaoheng. Another unexpected answer. Had third young master taken the wrong medicine? I don't want to force you to do anything you don't want to. Chu Jinchen's deep voice was filled with gentleness. Qiu Yaoheng. So it wasn't the wrong medicine. Here's the trick. Shi Ran looked at Chu Jinchen and smiled. Because it's his secret. I suppose that explains it. Chu Jinchen smiled happily and felt a little better. However, we have our secrets, too. Not to be outdone, he arched a brow. Oh. A bathtub. Shi Ran subconsciously looked at Chu Jinchen's neck and lowered her eyes in silence. What bathtub? Qiu Yaoheng asked nosily. Shit. What riddles were these two playing? Chu Jinchen looked at him with a faint smile. Star City Entertainment, it didn't close down. It's very good. Qiu Yaoheng replied first. He better stop asking. At this moment, Ji Wenfeng had already resolved this incident. I've already posted the video and pushed it up the trending topic list. Coupled with the fact that the original post is still popular, the new video is already at the top of the trending topic. Qiu Yaoheng took out his phone to check. As expected, after this complete video was released, the trend online was completely one-sided. Gong Xiling, who was originally on the victim's side, incurred public anger. A group of netizens cursed at her. Not long after, Gong Xiling turned off the Weibo comments and private messages. The netizens who had nowhere to vent their anger even created a post called, Gong Xiling, Get Out of the Entertainment Industry. Everyone vented their emotions in this post. The netizens have apologized to Sister Ran. Fong Tong Tong said excitedly. Ji Wenfeng felt relieved. It's all thanks to you this time. Unfortunately, you won't be able to continue filming for Return with the King. What happened tonight was just an excuse for them to remove you. Ji Wenfeng felt that it was a pity. After all, this drama was indeed of high quality. I remember that the biggest investor in this drama is Dingyu Technology, right? Qiu Yaoheng asked with a deep gaze. Right. If it were anyone else, with my relationship with Sister Shi Ran, I would have let her continue even if I have to spend money. However, since it is the Wen family, it wouldn't be good for me and Jinchen to do anything. As Qiu Yaoheng spoke, he glanced in Chu Jinchen's direction. Seeing that Chu Jinchen did not speak, he guessed that the other party had the same thoughts as him. He did not attack because he was worried about his friendship with Yufei and Jinchen. Jinchen must not have taken action because of President Wen. San Yu nodded silently behind him. Third young master rarely had a head on confrontation with others in the business world. Furthermore, this was Miss Wen's father. If he chose to help Miss Shi, it would be a slap in President Wen's face. With third young master's personality, it was impossible for him to do that. Do you want me to attack? Chu Jinchen looked at Shi Ran with a focused expression. Everyone was speechless. Was third young master crazy? He really intended to attack. No, Shi Ran's refusal was immediate. She doesn't like to trouble people. Chu Jinchen did not insist. Sanyu breathed a silent sigh of relief. Fortunately, Miss Shi knew her limits. Otherwise, third young master might really have gone against CEO 1. Ji Wenfeng looked at Shi Ran with heartache and promised, "It's okay, I'll find you a better script." Shi Ran chuckled. "Then I look forward to it." Her mood, however, remained unaffected. When Yufei had just finished brushing off Gong Jiling, who was crying her heart out. Xiao Qi muttered, "Miss Gong is too useless. She couldn't even guard one video." When Yufei looked down at her phone, the call never came. She was disappointed. Does Jinchen also know that all of this is a misunderstanding? Sister Yufei, you're the only granddaughter. Law that old Master Chu has acknowledged. What are you worried about? Third young master won't disobey old Master Chu. That's true. When Yufei smiled. Even if the matter is clarified, she can't stay in the production team anymore. With me around, she won't be able to cause any trouble in the entertainment industry. That's right, Sister Yufei. Would third young master go against President Wen for her? Xiao Qi said. Of course not, Wen Yufei said firmly. Jinchen has always respected my father. He definitely won't go against my father for Shi Ran. Shi Ran doesn't have such a high status in his heart. In the car. Xiao Yaohang stretched. I was supposed to go to the party today. I missed it because of you, so you'll be responsible for taking me home tonight. Whatever, Chu Jinchen replied casually as he looked at the scenery outside the window. Xiao Yaohang glanced at him. Actually, Sister Shi Ran was quite wrong this time. President Wen is obviously venting his anger on her. Seeing that he didn't react, Xiao Yaohang said tentatively, I think you can invest in a script and let Sister Shi Ran play the female lead. What do you think? No, Chu Jinchen said bluntly. This time, it was Xiao Yaohang's turn to be confused. Could it be that Jinchen was acting previously and did not really like Shi Ran? Then that act was too real. But if it wasn't an act, would Jinchen really bear to see Shi Ran being bullied like this? 1,000 thoughts raced through his mind. He had an idea. Is it because of President Wen? Yes, Chu Jinchen replied. As expected. Xiao Yaohang sighed. Indeed, President Wen is Yufei's father. From his point of view, it's reasonable for him to do this. We can only give him face. Give him face. Chu Jinchen sneered. How dare he ask me to give him face? Xiao Yaohang. What do you mean? Why did it feel wrong? Chu Jinchen narrowed his eyes, the dark light in his eyes flowing. Isn't it just throwing money? Then let's see who throws more. Is my person someone he can bully? His voice was deep, his words frivolous. Chapter 94. 94 If it's her, I'm willing to marry you. Are listening at novelfull.audio. 94 If it's her, I'm willing to marry. Xiao Yaohang was speechless. What the hell kind of bossy speech is that? What do you mean, your person? You like Shi Ran? Xiao Yaohang looked gossipy. Seeing that Chu Jinchen was about to speak, he spoke first, you don't have to deny it. Anyone with eyes can tell. I didn't deny it. Chu Jinchen raised his eyebrows. As that cold face flashed through his mind, a faint smile appeared on his lips, like the warm sun in early spring. Xiao Yaohang's eyes widened. Was this an admission? After a while, Xiao Yaohang deliberated and said, I won't stop you if you like Shi Ran, but I still hope you can reconsider your investment. Chu Jinchen supported his chin and remained silent. Your engagement with Yufei was set the moment you were born. It represents 100 years of friendship between the Wen and Chu families. Qiu Yaoheng continued, I remember that the elders of the two families set the time for your wedding at the age of 30. There's still 2 years to go. Are you going to break the engagement? Or do you want to have some fun before you get married? As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Jinchen's cold eyes shot over. Qiu Yaoheng was shocked and quickly waved his hand to explain, I'm not saying that you're playing around with Sister Shiran, but you can't marry her, right? If you can't marry her, then what you're doing now, why not? Chu Jinchen interrupted Qiu Yaoheng. He smiled evilly. If it were her, I would marry. Qiu Yaoheng was speechless again. F***ck. San Yu, who was driving up ahead, looked equally shocked. He did not expect third young master's feelings for Miss Shi to have reached the point where he wanted to marry her. All these years, Miss Wen had been by third young master's side. But even so, third young master did not agree to marry her. And it hadn't been long since Miss Shi had appeared. Qiu Yaoheng took a deep breath. To be honest, it's not that I don't support your idea of marrying Sister Shiran. But have you ever thought about what to do with old Master Chu? He will never let Shiran in. The future matriarch of the Chu family must be a woman of family background, perfect in every way. Yufei. She was raised as a chief's wife, so there's no better candidate. As a friend, of course I want you to find true love. But you're carrying the Chu family on your shoulders. Children of large families are destined to become tools of marriage. Towards the end, Qiu Yaoheng could not help but feel a little disappointed. They were enjoying the convenience brought by the family, so they naturally had to bear the obligation to maintain the family. However, do you think it can restrain me? Chu Jinchen curled his lips arrogantly. What, do you mean? Qiu Yaoheng hesitated. It doesn't mean he has other ideas, does he? You're not going to quit being the chief for Sister Shiran, are you? San Yu was equally appalled. Don't have such thoughts. If you do, you'll implicate Sister Shiran. Seeing that Chu Jinchen didn't answer, Qiu Yaoheng advised. Chu Jinchen leaned back in his seat with an unfathomable smile on his lips. His voice was faint as he said, I've never lived according to the Chu family's rules anyway. Qiu Yaoheng felt that there was a deeper meaning to this sentence. But he didn't think too much about it. Instead, he said, but Yufei. Before he could finish speaking, Chu Jinchen said coldly, if you mention irrelevant people again, walk back yourself. Qiu Yaoheng shut up. Looking at Chu Jinchen's side profile, he shook his head absurdly. Insane. He did not expect Jinchen to be in love. Shiran's apartment. Sitting in a chair in the study, Shiran tapped her index finger on the table. She wasn't surprised that her role had been removed. The entertainment industry was a place where capital was paramount. It was just that today's events had made her realize the importance of money and power. In her previous life, she was the head of a family that never had to worry about money and power. But in this book she was all by herself. She didn't like being on the defensive. With that in mind, she turned on her computer and worked with her fingers. Then the bottom right news bullet window popped up. #Spring and Autumn Sports double champion Team Art is no longer glorious and is facing disbandment. When Shiran saw the title, she clicked on it. It was the Battle of the Gunslinger. One of the most popular games for nearly 5 years. Shiran briefly scanned the news and had an idea. Day 2. Shiran had slept until she woke up naturally. With a piece of toast in her mouth, she watched a movie played by the seniors. At this moment, Ji Wenfeng called. I'll take you to the set now. Ji Wenfeng's voice was unstable and he was very agitated. Ha! Shiran was puzzled. An investor was added to the investment today, and their shareholding surpassed that of Dingyu Technology. They have specifically asked you to play the second female lead. Crew dressing room. When Yufei had just put on her makeup and changed into her costume. She was smiling and drinking her tea, feeling very satisfied. Xiao Qi smiled very happily too. I finally don't have to see that annoying shirt ran anymore, it's a very happy day indeed. When Yufei's smile deepened. No matter how good her acting skills are, it's useless without resources. Daddy won't let her be too comfortable in the entertainment industry. She deserves it. Of all people, she actually offended you, Sister Yufei. Does she really think that third young master will protect her? She should look at Sister Yufei's family background. Xiao Qi said, looking proud. This made Wen Yufei even happier. She got up and smoothed her dress. Let's go. We're shooting the next scene. Okay. Xiao Qi followed behind Wen Yufei. As soon as the two of them walked out of the dressing room, they saw the production crew busy moving an exquisite and luxurious dressing table into the next room. The room next door is for. Wen Yufei was puzzled. Xiao Qi was also puzzled. I remember that the next room was the crew's storeroom. Is this going to be used as a dressing room? Maybe there aren't enough public dressing rooms, she said gently. But it doesn't look like a public dressing room. That dressing table looks even more expensive than yours, Sister Yufei. Xiao Qi said as she stuck her head in. Hey, Brother Zhang. Xiao Qi pulled a crew member who was about to leave. What's wrong, Sister Xiao Qi? The staff member wiped the sweat from his forehead and showed his teeth. What are you guys doing? Xiao Qi asked. Well, producer Wang asked us to clear out a private lounge for the second female lead in the cast. Second female lead? Who is it? I don't know about that. All I did was instruct them to move things. Anyway, I have to move the sofa. After Brother Zhang left, Xiao Qi returned to Wen Yufei's side. She's the second female lead who replaced Shi Ran, right? Who is this person? Isn't the personal dressing room only for the main cast? I can't believe a supporting actress like her has won. How can the crew do things like this? Xiao Qi pursed her lips and muttered, her tone very sour. Maybe she brought funds into the team, or maybe she knows producer Wang, Wen Yufei said as she glanced into the dressing room. Not only was it larger than her lounge, but even the overall layout was elegant and simple. It could be seen that the production team had spent a lot of effort on this. Who would that be? Tisk, Seven scoffed. She must have climbed into producer Wang's bed. The second female lead and a separate dressing room. It's too obvious. While they were talking, producer Wang, who was dressed in a suit, walked over. Be careful when you move things. Place this vase lightly. Try to make the room look comfortable, understand? Producer Wang reminded the staff as he walked. Such a serious look made Xiao Qi even more dissatisfied. Producer Wang really doesn't avoid suspicion. He even came over personally to keep an eye on us. Wen Yufei chuckled. If you want to know who it is, you can ask producer Wang. Chapter 95. 95 The exclusive dressing room prepared for her. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 95 The exclusive dressing room prepared for her, producer Wang, when Yufei called out and walked forward. Producer Wang noticed her and immediately came over. Yufei. Are you all setting up a dressing room? She asked. Yes, for the second female lead, producer Wang said calmly. Usually only the main lead gets an exclusive lounge. What's the background of this second female lead? Although Xiao Qi tried her best to restrain herself, she could not help but sound a little sarcastic. Producer Wang looked unhappy. When Yufei started to make up for it. Xiao Qi also wants to understand the other party's identity so that she can be more careful in the future and not offend her. Producer Wang's mood improved a lot when he heard that. He forced a smile. We do have to be careful. It was our investor who specifically asked her to play the second female lead. I didn't expect her to be so special. The investor. Is it my father? Wen Yufei frowned. Father appointed her himself. That doesn't sound like my father. No, the producer rubbed his nose awkwardly. There's a new investor. He's already outspent President Wen, so he's the first investor now. Wen Yufei's eyes darkened. He had a vague sense of foreboding. But soon she vehemently denied it. It cannot be. It was definitely not Jinshan's. She hesitated, her mouth open. That actress, who is she? As long as it wasn't Shi Ran. At that moment, the sound of jubilation came from around the corner. There's actually an exclusive lounge this time. It's really awesome, Sister Ran. Sister Ran. It's Shi Ran. Wen Yufei stood rooted to the ground, her eyes fixed on the corner. First, a shadow projected on the ground. Then it was the white board shoes. She looked up and took an involuntary step back when she saw the familiar face. Sister Yufei. Shao Qi hurriedly supported Wen Yufei. How can it be, her? She looked dazed as she watched Shi Ran approach. Ji Wenfeng followed behind her with a serious expression, like a guardian. Sister Yufei, Shao Qi called out worriedly. Shi Ran and the others had also noticed them. After thinking about it for a while, Ji Wenfeng walked over with his usual expression. What's wrong? Are you sick? Wen Yufei looked up. She shook her head and forced a smile. I'm fine. I'm just a little surprised. What's going on? The decision of the investor, Ji Wenfeng replied concisely. Wen Yufei also recovered her composure and smiled gently. It's great that Shi Ran is back. I was just feeling regretful about it. After all, she's really a capable actress. Yes, Ji Wenfeng replied indifferently. Who is the investor? He has good taste. He must be a fan of Shi Ran, Wen Yufei said tentatively. Perhaps, Ji Wenfeng replied ambiguously. He stared at Wen Yufei, his eyes focused. Yufei was pretending to be happy and inquiring about investors. What did she want to know? Ji Wenfeng was suspicious, but he did not ask. After exchanging a few pleasantries, he returned to Shi Ran's personal lounge. As soon as the door closed, he heard Fong Tong Tong cheering. Not only did we return with full health this time, but our treatment has also improved several times. It's an exclusive dressing room. This is the treatment of the main lead. Fong Tong Tong looked left and right, her eyes shining. Who is the investor? Shi Ran looked straight into Ji Wenfeng's eyes and asked. She had no representative work and did not know any big shots. She didn't think anyone would spend a fortune on her. Moreover, the production crew had given her special treatment. Ji Wenfeng looked away guiltily and said vaguely, just an investor. I can find out for myself. That's right. Sister Ran is a hacker, Fong Tong Tong echoed. Ji Wenfeng held his forehead helplessly and finally told the truth. Wen Yufei returned to the dressing room. She was restless. Shao Qi, do you think Shi Ran came back because of Jinshan? No, Sister Yufei. Shao Qi vowed. It can't be third young master. She must have found a sugar daddy. You also know that the entertainment industry is all about those things. She must be indignant about being removed by President Wen, so she climbed into some man's bed overnight. And think about it. Third young master has always respected CEO Wen. How could he openly go against CEO Wen for such a woman? Wen Yufei's tense heart finally calmed down after Shao Qi's words. Seeing this, Shao Qi continued, you're the only fiancé the Chu family has acknowledged. Sister Yufei, you have to have confidence in yourself. It's just Shi Ran. The Shi family is nothing compared to the Wen family, not to mention that she's just an adopted pheasant. Third young master isn't stupid. If he doesn't want the true phoenix, will he go against President Wen and Old Master Chu for a pheasant? You're right. Wen Yufei was finally relieved. She grabbed Xiao Qi's hand. Xiao Qi, thank goodness I have you. When I saw Shi Ran just now, I really panicked. Sister Yufei, don't be afraid. Xiao Qi returned the handshake. Since you're so worried, I'll get someone to find out who this investor is. Okay. Wen Yufei nodded. It would be fun if the investor was an old man. She could even make an issue out of this. If this man still had a wife and children, her career would be ruined. Xiao Qi took out her phone and sent a message. With Shi Ran's face and figure, it's not difficult to find a big shot, Wen Yufei said ambiguously. Isn't that better? Xiao Qi smiled slyly. Sister Yufei, shouldn't you be more at ease? How can third young master like such a dirty person? I know it's impossible for Jinchen to marry her, but even if Jinchen is just playing with her, I can't accept it. Her hands slowly clenched into fists, and her expression gradually turned sinister. Jinchen could only be hers. No one could snatch him away. Ding, her phone beeped. Wen Yufei's heart skipped a beat. Although she told herself that it couldn't be Jinchen, she still couldn't be completely at ease until she confirmed who the investor was. Xiao Qi turned on her phone. After taking a look, she waved happily. Don't worry, Sister Yufei, it's not third young master. Now she was really relieved. It's just a role in a movie, but Shi Ran actually sacrificed so much, Wen Yufei said disdainfully. Those without strength can only rely on their bodies. I don't think she's a pushover either. I'm going to find out who the person in charge of this company is. In high spirits, Xiao Qi opened her phone browser. Wen Yufei couldn't help but laugh when she saw her like this. Her tone became much lighter. Why don't you tell me? Perhaps I know. Oh, right. Xiao Qi was enlightened. Look at my memory. Look at you. She laughed helplessly. Xiao Qi stuck out her tongue in embarrassment and turned her phone around. They said it's called Xingyi Company. Have you heard of it, Sister Yufei? I don't think it's a famous company. What did you say it's called? The smile on Wen Yufei's face faded, and panic surged in her heart. Xiao Qi did not understand. Xingyi, the meaning of prosperity. Xingyi, Wen Yufei slumped into a chair. After a long moment, she smiled wryly. Xingyi. A subsidiary of the KT Group. Chapter 96. 96 Don't touch her. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 96 Don't touch her, Sister Yufei, what's wrong? Xiao Qi was worried. Then, she seemed to have thought of something. Xingyi can't be. Third young master's company, right? Yes. Wen Yufei nodded weakly. Was Jinchen willing to do this for the sake of Shi Ran? Would he rather go against her father and disobey Old Master Chu to protect Shi Ran? What about her? What was she to him? Has Jinchen ever thought about her feelings? She was clearly Jinchen's fiancée. No. I don't believe Jinchen would do that, she muttered to herself. She must have begged third young master. It's not good for third young master not to help. Xiao Qi said anxiously. Besides, Sister Yufei, think about it. Third young master only arranged for her to be the second female lead, not the first female lead. I don't believe she doesn't want to snatch your position. She must have mentioned it to third young master but he refused. That's why you're still the female lead. She'll always be the second female lead between you and third young master. Yes, she's just the second female lead. Jinchen cares about me and he has me in his heart. Wen Yufei lied to herself. No, I have to ask Jinchen. Where's my phone? Xiao Qi immediately handed over the phone. She did not dare to speak and stood quietly behind Wen Yufei. Wen Yufei's hand was still trembling as she held the phone. It took her a long time to find the number at the top of the contact list. She took a deep breath and dialed. When the other answered, her heart lifted. "Jinchen, it's me," she said gently, a faint smile on her lips. "Is something wrong?" Chu Jinchen's tone was still very cold, but she was used to it after so many years. "I saw Shi Ran at the set today. I'm happy to see her again. I heard that the investors specifically asked her to play the second female lead. Did you know about that?" Wen Yufei probed carefully. "I know. I'm an investor. I pointed it out," Chu Jinchen admitted frankly. He did not even have the slightest intention of hiding it. Wen Yufei's heart felt like it had fallen into an icehouse, but she still forced a smile and said, "She is indeed very talented in acting. It seems that you are also her fan, Jinchen." "Really? I've never seen her act," Chu Jinchen said lazily. Wen Yufei was stunned again. "You've never seen her act? Did that mean that Shi Ran was allowed to play the second female lead because of his personal reasons? Is it because my father removed Shi Ran and she started begging you? I actually hope for her to beg me." Chu Jinchen was still smiling when he said this. Wen Yufei was on the verge of collapse, but she still held it in and said, "We're getting married in 2 years. I plan to customize the wedding dress first. What do you think, Jinchen?" There was a long silence on the other end. Her heart was suspended in the air as she waited for his reply. "I said 8 years ago that I wouldn't marry you." Chu Jinchen's words were emotionless, as cold as a machine. Bang! The phone fell to the ground. "Sister Yufei." Xiao Qi was very worried. She could tell that Sister Yufei was on the verge of a breakdown. Tears rolled down Wen Yufei's cheeks, dripping onto the carpet. She crouched down and took it. Her voice was stained with tears, but she asked stubbornly, "Is it because of Shi Ran? Without her, I wouldn't marry you too." Chu Jinchen said and paused. Wen Yufei's heart clenched. "Don't touch her. Otherwise, I won't even let the Wen and Chu families off." Then he hung up. Wen Yufei's heart completely sank. Tears kept falling, but she laughed out loud. "Xiao Qi, did you hear him? He's warning me. He's warning me not to touch another woman." "Xiao Qi, Sister Yufei," Xiao Qi's heart ached. She went forward and hugged Wen Yufei. "Don't cry, Sister Yufei." However, just as she finished speaking, Wen Yufei cried even harder. The heart-wrenching wailing was something Xiao Qi had never heard before. After crying until she was tired, Wen Yufei sat on the ground dejectedly like a puppet. After a long time, she moved her fingers stiffly. "Xiao Qi, do you think he's unwilling to marry me because of Shi Ran?" Her voice was deep and her expression was hidden in the shadows, making her look strange. "She must have seduced third young master." Xiao Qi echoed. "Does that mean he'll see me when Shi Ran disappears?" "Sister Yufei, you're much more outstanding than Shi Ran. Third young master will definitely regret it." Xiao Qi said. "Where's my phone?" Wen Yufei looked up. The tears on her face had dried and her makeup was mostly ruined. Seeing that she seemed to have returned to her usual self, Xiao Qi handed her the phone. She opened the dialogue box with her father. Her fingers pressed hard against the screen of her phone as she composed a message and sent it. Wen Yufei. "Dad, I want her to disappear completely." Shi Ran's dressing room. She received a call from Chu Jinchen. "You'll be filming till late recently, right? It's very dangerous for a girl to go home alone. Let Ji Wenfeng send you home," Chu Jinchen said softly. "What happened?" Shi Ran was acutely aware that something was wrong. "If you want, I can personally pick you up. How about that?" Chu Jinchen smiled devilishly. "No need." She was going to hang up when she hesitated. She put the phone to her ear. Don't waste your money like this next time. Only then did she end the call. The KT group Chu Jinshan looked at the black phone screen and laughed softly. He pressed the internal pager. It wasn't long before Sanyu walked in. Pay more attention to the movements of the Wen family, especially Wen Yufei and Wen Gongliang. A sharp glint flashed across Chu Jinshan's eyes. Although Sanyu was puzzled, he agreed silently. And send a few men to protect her in secret. It went without saying who she was. Yes. It was already 9 o'clock in the evening after filming. We could have ended work earlier today. Who knew that when Yufei would NG so many times? Fong Tong Tong muttered softly. When Yufei used to be her goddess, but now, that layer of goddess filter had been shattered. She felt that Sister Ran was still better. There's indeed something wrong with her today, Ji Wenfeng said with a slight frown. Does she know the identity of the investor? Otherwise, with Yufei's professionalism, how could she be distracted during filming? He was still worried. Brother Ji. Shao Qi's anxious voice came from behind. Ji Wenfeng stopped in his tracks. Shao Qi was panting. Not good, Sister Yufei. Sister Yufei, what happened to her? Ji Wenfeng asked worriedly as his heart tightened. She has a fever and has been unwilling to go to the hospital or see a doctor. She listens to you the most. Go and see her please, Shao Qi begged. Ji Wenfeng was about to agree when he thought of Shi Ran behind him. He turned to Shi Ran. Shi Ran leaned against the pillar. Go ahead. Tong Tong and I can go back by ourselves. Then send me a message when you get home, Ji Wenfeng instructed. Shi Ran made an okay gesture. After they left, Fong Tong Tong curled her lips. Who knows if it's true or not? A fever. Shi Ran laughed. I have something urgent to attend to later. You take a taxi back first. Okay. Fong Tong Tong didn't ask any more questions. After Fong Tong Tong got into the car, Shi Ran also hailed a taxi. The car pulled away. She's gone. Follow her. Don't let her get away. A man's rough voice rang out. A second later, a white van followed. Chapter 97. 97 If she dies, I won't live either. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 97 If she dies, I won't live either. The taxi stopped on a deserted street. Shi Ran got out of the car and walked straight into the street. All was quiet except for the sound of the breeze. The doors of every house were closed. There was no one in sight and it was dark everywhere. Only one spot was brightly lit, illuminating a large stretch of road. That was the destination Shi Ran wanted to go to. Quiz Internet Cafe. She pushed open the door and stepped inside. The Internet Cafe was plain and empty. No one was there and even the air conditioning was off. She walked to the front desk where a young man was looking down at a competition video with headphones on. Shi Ran tapped the table lightly. The young man looked up sharply. When he saw who it was, he looked surprised. But he still stood up quickly and bowed. Hello. Shi Ran pulled down her mask. Hello, is this an internet cafe run by Timar? May I help you? The young man was instantly alert. You're a member of Timar. It's like this. I want to invest in Timar. Shi Ran went straight to the point. That was why she was here. What? The young man looked shocked. You said you were going to invest in us. Right. I've been thinking about trying to invest. I think the esports industry is good. The young man was still in shock. It took him a moment to recover. You're not joking. No, the young man's eyes lit up, a few shades brighter than the lights in the shop. He seemed so excited that he couldn't even speak properly. I'll ask the captain first. Wait for me. He started to pick up the phone, but before he could raise his hand, he suddenly looked up. Do you understand esports? Do you know how much it costs to invest in it? Yes. Ran raised her eyebrows. Thinking that it was a misunderstanding, he quickly waved his hand. It's not that I don't think you have money, but I want to tell you that investing in esports requires a lot of money. And, he looked down, crestfallen. It's likely to be a lost cause. Can you tell me how much is needed? Ran asked bluntly. She had mainly come over today to understand the investment amount. Although she had gathered a lot of information, she knew she could not learn any faster than directly from the professional players. At least 10 million. And this is only the initial investment. Our team doesn't have enough people, so we still need to recruit. The more powerful professional players nowadays need a pay of at least $1 million or more. The young man's voice became softer and softer. Ran tapped her index finger on the table. After a moment's thought, he nodded. I understand. What I just said is only the investment amount for a low-level team. A high-level team needs more, but Team R is only a low-level team now. The young man lowered his eyes. I understand. I'll come to you next time, Ran said calmly. The young man wasn't surprised. Previously, many people wanted to take advantage of Team R's defeat to invest, but every time they heard about the amount, they would be scared away. 10 million was not a small number in itself. Saying that she would look for him next time was just an excuse. He understood. He raised his big smile. Have a nice night. Ran's gaze froze. For a moment, she thought she saw the light in the young man's eyes dim completely. She turned to leave. It was the same road, but this time it felt cold for some reason. After walking out of the street, Ran took out her phone, intending to call a taxi. At that moment, the white van parked on the side of the path moved and the door was pulled open. Then the three men got out quickly. They all had square white handkerchiefs in their hands. There was a puddle of transparent marks on it. They were extremely fast and had a clear purpose as they rushed towards Ran. They reached out in an attempt to restrain her. But she was faster. With a backward step, she dodged the three men. She flexed her wrists, and the corners of her mouth lifted insolently under her mask. Courting death. Ran raised her hand and was about to turn around and attack. In the nick of time, the man in black suddenly appeared and stood in front of Ran. She stopped moving. Then she saw the man in front of her launch an attack and rush towards the three burly men opposite him. His moves were clean and neat, and every strike made the other party unable to defend themselves. Within a few moves, the three burly men were lying on the ground, wailing. Ran then looked up. The man was dressed in a black T-shirt and was tall. His figure looked even thinner under the street lamp. He was wearing a cap and mask. His head was down, making it impossible to see what he looked like. It felt familiar. Ran frowned slightly. The man stiffened momentarily under her scrutiny. But soon the man turned to the white van and found the ropes the big men had prepared. He moved quickly and tied the three big men to the telephone pole. The man was about to leave after he was done. Thank you, she said, her clear voice amused. The man froze. He lowered his hat and left as silently as he had appeared in a hurry. The man walked around the corner. His tense body relaxed completely. He leaned against the wall and clutched his rapidly beating heart. The footsteps were chaotic and soon a group of people appeared in front of the man. The leader was a bald man with a puzzled expression. What were you doing, Tian? Saving a life, the man said flatly. Of course I know you're saving people, but do you know who you're saving? The bald man was agitated, but he still tried his best to suppress his voice. Ran, the man whispered, his tone rolling with endless tenderness. You still know that she's Ran. The bald man was so angry that he took a deep breath. She's the one president one wanted to get rid of. The order was given to us at noon and you refused to take it. But what's with the sabotage now? Do you know that woman? The bald man suddenly reacted. The man pursed his lips and said nothing. The bald man sighed helplessly. Do you know that if President Wen finds out about your actions tonight, it's very likely that all of us will be implicated. Now, hurry up and release those three, and Tai Shi ran to the car. The man looked up, his eyes cold. His voice was cold as he said, if you want to touch her, step over my corpse. You. The bald man looked shocked. You like her? Ah Biao, I know what I'm doing. To me, she's more important than my life. If she dies one day, I won't live either. What are you talking about? The bald man stood rooted to the ground in shock. The man chuckled softly. In our line of work, living is just a struggle. Without her, I'd have been dead a long time ago. He glanced up. So, for the sake of my life, let me know if you have any further orders about her. The bald man looked at the man for a long time and could only laugh in the end. You've already said it so seriously, what else can I say? But I'm really curious about what charm this woman has that makes you take her so seriously. With that, the bald man stuck his head out from the corner. Under the streetlight, the woman was slender, her head lowered in thought. He curled his lip. What? Ah Tian liked such a weak girl. The next second, the woman suddenly turned her head and shot her gaze in his direction. Chapter 98. 98 I'm too dirty to be worthy of her. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 98 I'm too dirty to be worthy of her. The bald man shuddered and quickly shrank back against the wall. Clutching his rapidly beating heart, he said with lingering fear, this is too scary. Her vigilance is too high. The man laughed. Don't underestimate her. She's strong. Look at your proud tone. You sound like you're talking about your girlfriend, the bald man teased. The man's laughter stopped. His eyes were gray as he mocked himself. I'm too dirty to be worthy of her. You, the bald man began. Let's go. We have a mission to complete. The man regained his composure and left. Shi Ran looked away. Her mind flashed to the man who had just helped her. It felt familiar. Gathering her thoughts, she turned to the three bound men. Who sent you to kidnap me? Shi Ran asked calmly. We won't say anything. The big man was tight-lipped. Shi Ran was not surprised. She turned right into the van and found a phone on the driver's seat. As he picked it up, a call came in. No note, just a string of numbers. She slid the answer button. Well. Did you get her? W's orders are to take her straight to the usual place and dump her in the back hills to feed the dogs. Those babies have been hungry for a long time, too. The man sounded like he was in his 30s, mature and a little hoarse. When no one answered, the man said in a cautious tone, why aren't you talking? Shi Ran curled her lip. I regret to inform you that it's your men who will now be taken to the dogs. Do, the caller hung up. Shi Ran got out of the car with the phone. She wanted to open it but realized that she needed the password. She scanned the men. What's the password? We won't tell you. Unlock it yourself if you can, the big man sneered. Shi Ran slid her finger across the phone a few times, her expression calm. Oh, it's unlocked. The three big men. How can that be? Don't lie. Before he could finish, a familiar photo of a beautiful woman appeared in front of him. The three burly men. It was the desktop wallpaper. This woman actually unlocked it. How was it done? Shi Ran scrolled through the phone. The call was only from the man just now, but there were many numbers in the contact list. She memorized the numbers. She then opened the photo album and was greeted by gory photos and many videos. Blood spread across the screen. The girl's cry for help. The sound of despair in the silent street. She then turned it off. A moment later she found their destination again by navigating. Snow Manor. She muttered those 4 words and looked down at the man in the middle. The smile on her lips was filled with killing intent. The big man felt terrified. He leaned so close to the telephone pole behind him that his double chin became triple chin. However, he could only hear a voice that sounded like a bloody blade hanging above his head. Is it a place to feed the dogs? None of the 3 dared to speak. She tilted her head. How about throwing you guys in? We can't starve those babies. Why you? The big man stammered. I'm telling you, it's illegal. Illegal. Shiran raised an eyebrow. Yes. It's illegal. You'll go to jail if you're found out. She ran her index finger down her chin. You guys are right. It's wrong to break the law while you know it. The big man let out a long breath. 10 minutes later. Sirens sounded, drawing closer with every second. The 3 burly men. Damn it, it's wrong to break the law, but I didn't ask you to call the police. The police car pulled up in front of the van. After Shiran briefly explained what had happened tonight, she handed over their phone to the police. A man just called. I recorded the conversation. On the phone, they have a mastermind behind them. His name is W, probably an acronym for his last name. The cop took the phone and put it in the evidence bag. Also, they said they were going to throw me to the dogs. I checked the phone's GPS. There's a back hill on Snowfall Manor. A lot of people must have died there. Lots of videos and photos could be found in the cell phone's albums. Shiran said calmly. The cop said nothing. This was the first woman he had seen who was so calm after almost being kidnapped. She had even given him all kinds of evidence. So they own this phone. They gave you the password to unlock it, the cop asked. No, I just entered a random string of numbers and opened it. Police. So lucky. He looked up, studying Shiran's face. Despite the mask, the woman looked familiar. Have we met before? Are you a cop, too? She was so calm, clear, and organized that it felt very likely that she was a colleague. No, Shiran shook her head. The cop was puzzled, but he didn't waste any more time. Take out your ID. I'll check in and call you later if I need you. Okay. Shiran handed over her ID. The policeman first scanned the information on the ID card and was about to take a pen to register. His eyes widened suddenly and focused. Are you Shiran? It's me. I didn't expect to see you again. I've watched the video of you beating up some punks in City a dozen times. You're so cool when you fight. The cop couldn't stop praising her. Thank you, Shiran said politely. The police had work to do, so they didn't delay any longer. After registering the information, they quickly got into the police car. The police car pulled away, dragging the white van with it. In the car, the policeman from earlier was still excitedly sharing his experience. I didn't expect to meet Shiran this time. Shiran. The man's deep, rich voice sounded in the car. Yes, Mr. Wan, we've really troubled you this time. We invited you to help us solve the case, but we didn't expect to be mobilized at the last minute. It's okay, when you said. Shiran. It seemed to be the female celebrity that Jinchen cared about. He looked away and inadvertently glanced at the police registration book. The word Snow Manor came into view, and his pupils constricted. Snow Manor. Shiran was waiting for the bus. Then a black Maybach pulled up in front of her. The car door was quickly opened and Chu Jinchen quickly stepped forward. His black eyes sized up ran carefully from left to right. After confirming that she was not injured, a faint smile appeared on his lips. Why did you come here alone? Ran looked up and met those deep eyes. Why are you here? She asked. To take you home, he whispered. Ran raised her eyebrows and smiled. Thank you, third young Master Chu. A bright smile dazzled in his eyes. Chu Jinshan restrained his emotions and took the initiative to open the back seat door. Silence filled the car. No one spoke. Ran propped her chin on her hand and looked out of the window at the scenery flashing past, lost in thought. Chu Jinshan stared at Ran's side profile. By the light from the window, he traced the contours of Ran's features with his eyes. His eyes darkened as he recalled the bodyguard's report in the office. He had already sent a few bodyguards to protect Ran directly. Yet, he had just received news that Ran was almost kidnapped. And that she was rescued by a man in a hat. Chu Jinshan narrowed his eyes and crossed his fingers for a few seconds. He spoke casually. Anything you want to say to me? 98 I'm too dirty to be worthy of her translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. The bald man shuddered and quickly shrank back against the wall. Clutching his rapidly beating heart, he said with lingering fear, this is too scary. Her vigilance is too high. The man laughed. Don't underestimate her. She's strong. Look at your proud tone. You sound like you're talking about your girlfriend, the bald man teased. The man's laughter stopped. His eyes were gray as he mocked himself. I'm too dirty to be worthy of her. You, the bald man began. Let's go. We have a mission to complete. The man regained his composure and left. Ran looked away. Her mind flashed to the man who had just helped her. It felt familiar. Gathering her thoughts, she turned to the three bound men. Who sent you to kidnap me? Ran asked calmly. We won't say anything. The big man was tight-lipped. Ran was not surprised. She turned right into the van and found a phone on the driver's seat. As he picked it up, a call came in. No note, just a string of numbers. She slid the answer button. Well. Did you get her? W's orders are to take her straight to the usual place and dump her in the back hills to feed the dogs. Those babies have been hungry for a long time, too. The man sounded like he was in his 30s, mature and a little hoarse. When no one answered, the man said in a cautious tone, Why aren't you talking? Ran curled her lip. I regret to inform you that it's your men who will now be taken to the dogs. Do, the caller hung up. Ran got out of the car with the phone. She wanted to open it but realized that she needed the password. She scanned the men. What's the password? We won't tell you. Unlock it yourself if you can, the big man sneered. Ran slid her finger across the phone a few times, her expression calm. Oh, it's unlocked. The three big men. How can that be? Don't lie. Before he could finish, a familiar photo of a beautiful woman appeared in front of him. The three burly men. It was the desktop wallpaper. This woman actually unlocked it. How was it done? Ran scrolled through the phone. The call was only from the man just now, but there were many numbers in the contact list. She memorized the numbers. She then opened the photo album and was greeted by gory photos and many videos. Blood spread across the screen. The girl's cry for help. The sound of despair in the silent street. She then turned it off. A moment later she found their destination again by navigating. Snow Manor. She muttered those 4 words and looked down at the man in the middle. The smile on her lips was filled with killing intent. The big man felt terrified. He leaned so close to the telephone pole behind him that his double chin became triple chin. However, he could only hear a voice that sounded like a bloody blade hanging above his head. Is it a place to feed the dogs? None of the three dared to speak. She tilted her head. How about throwing you guys in? We can't starve those babies. Why you? The big man stammered. I'm telling you, it's illegal. Illegal. Shiran raised an eyebrow. Yes. It's illegal. You'll go to jail if you're found out. She ran her index finger down her chin. You guys are right. It's wrong to break the law while you know it. The big man let out a long breath. 10 minutes later. Sirens sounded, drawing closer with every second. The three burly men. Damn it, it's wrong to break the law, but I didn't ask you to call the police. The police car pulled up in front of the van. After Shiran briefly explained what had happened tonight, she handed over their phone to the police. A man just called. I recorded the conversation. On the phone, they have a mastermind behind them. His name is W, probably an acronym for his last name. The cop took the phone and put it in the evidence bag. Also, they said they were going to throw me to the dogs. I checked the phone's GPS. There's a back hill on Snowfall Manor. A lot of people must have died there. Lots of videos and photos could be found in the cell phone's albums. Shiran said calmly. The cop said nothing. This was the first woman he had seen who was so calm after almost being kidnapped. She had even given him all kinds of evidence. So they own this phone. They gave you the password to unlock it, the cop asked. No, I just entered a random string of numbers and opened it. Police. So lucky. He looked up, studying Shiran's face. Despite the mask, the woman looked familiar. Have we met before? Are you a cop, too? She was so calm, clear, and organized that it felt very likely that she was a colleague. No, Shiran shook her head. The cop was puzzled, but he didn't waste any more time. Take out your ID. I'll check in and call you later if I need you. Okay. Shiran handed over her ID. The policeman first scanned the information on the ID card and was about to take a pen to register. His eyes widened suddenly and focused. Are you Shiran? It's me. I didn't expect to see you again. I've watched the video of you beating up some punks in City a dozen times. You're so cool when you fight. The cop couldn't stop praising her. Thank you, Shiran said politely. The police had work to do, so they didn't delay any longer. After registering the information, they quickly got into the police car. The police car pulled away, dragging the white van with it. In the car, the policeman from earlier was still excitedly sharing his experience. I didn't expect to meet Shiran this time. Shiran. The man's deep, rich voice sounded in the car. Yes, Mr. Wan, we've really troubled you this time. We invited you to help us solve the case, but we didn't expect to be mobilized at the last minute. It's okay, when you said. Shiran. It seemed to be the female celebrity that Jinshin cared about. He looked away and inadvertently glanced at the police registration book. The word Snow Manor came into view, and his pupils constricted. Snow Manor. Shiran was waiting for the bus. Then a black Maybach pulled up in front of her. The car door was quickly opened and Chu Jinshin quickly stepped forward. His black eyes sized up Shiran carefully from left to right. After confirming that she was not injured, a faint smile appeared on his lips. Why did you come here alone? Shiran looked up and met those deep eyes. Why are you here? She asked. To take you home, he whispered. Shiran raised her eyebrows and smiled. Thank you, third young Master Chu. A bright smile dazzled in his eyes. Chu Jinshin restrained his emotions and took the initiative to open the backseat door. Silence filled the car. No one spoke. Shi Ran propped her chin on her hand and looked out of the window at the scenery flashing past, lost in thought. Chu Jinchen stared at Shi Ran's side profile. By the light from the window, he traced the contours of Shi Ran's features with his eyes. His eyes darkened as he recalled the bodyguard's report in the office. He had already sent a few bodyguards to protect Shi Ran directly. Yet, he had just received news that Shi Ran was almost kidnapped. And that she was rescued by a man in a hat. Chu Jinchen narrowed his eyes and crossed his fingers for a few seconds. He spoke casually. Anything you want to say to me? Chapter 99. 99 What do you think? You are listening at novelfull.audio. 99 What do you think? Shi Ran turned around and looked at Chu Jinchen with her dark brown eyes. She blinked and shook her head very honestly. No, should I say anything? But there was indeed nothing she wanted to say. As was her nature, she rarely shared her affairs with others. Therefore, there was naturally no need to say anything about tonight. Chu Jinchen felt helpless. But he could guess why. He asked no more questions. The two of them walked in silence, but the atmosphere was quite harmonious. After sending Shi Ran back to her apartment, the smile on Chu Jinchen's face faded. Find out who's behind them, and serve them well. His tone was lazy, his dark eyes biting. Yes. San Yu agreed immediately. No matter who did it this time, they had completely offended third young master. Add more men to protect her. Yes. After waiting for a while, Chu Jinchen did not say anything else. San Yu said, Third master, do you want to investigate the man in the black hat the bodyguard mentioned? No, Chu Jinchen said softly. Shi Ran probably wouldn't want him to investigate. Noted. San Yu glanced at the rearview mirror in surprise. It seemed that third young master really cared about Miss Shi. Chu Jinchen sat quietly for a while. He picked up his phone and dialed Ji Wenfeng's number. Third young master. Where are you? Chu Jinchen lowered the window. The wind disturbed his eyes and covered the look in them. Yufei has a fever. I'm taking care of her. Ji Wenfeng realized that something was wrong and explained, she doesn't want to see a doctor. I'm just trying to persuade her, ha. The rest of the sentence was cut off by a sneer. Ji Wenfeng didn't even dare to breathe. Since you like being around her so much, you'll switch back to being her agent starting tomorrow. As for Shi Ran, I'll get her a more qualified manager. Chu Jinchen's tone was as usual, but his words made Ji Wenfeng's heart tighten. He only felt confused. But then he realized. Did something happen to Shi Ran? What's wrong, Wenfeng? Did something happen? When Yufei's worried and weak voice sounded. A sharp glint flashed across Chu Jinchen's eyes. He hung up. Within 2 minutes, another call came in. It was old Master Chu. He put it straight on the speaker. Chu Jinchen. Get back here. Chu Chiteng shouted loudly. Even San Yu, who was driving, was so frightened that he almost drove the wrong way. Chu Jinchen pressed the red button. His ears finally quietened. Third young master, should we go back now or, to the old residence, Chu Jinchen said calmly. When Yufei sighed, did something happen to Shi Ran? When Yufei lay on the sofa, her face pale as she looked at Ji Wenfeng weakly. I'll ask. Ji Wenfeng called Shi Ran. However, no one listened for a long time. He was worried. I have to go take a look. Ji Wenfeng turned to Shao Qi. Shao Qi, take good care of Yufei. With that, he hurried away. After he left, when Yufei's sickly attitude faded. She sat up and looked coldly at the closed door. The next moment, she smiled, as if she's had her way. Looks like something happened to Shi Ran. President Wen has succeeded. Shao Qi was also extremely excited. She raised her chin smugly. Going against Sister Yufei. You're courting death. When Yufei smiled gently. There are no more obstacles between me and Jinchen. I'm finally going to be Jinchen's wife. With that in mind, she took out her phone and saw the message from her father. Dad. I'm at the Chu family. Let's talk about your marriage. When Yufei stood up excitedly. Xiao Qi, quickly get the chauffeur to pick me up. I'm going to the Chu family. Dad said that he's talking about my marriage with Jinchen. The more she spoke, the more excited she became. In the end, tears actually fell. Finally, no one could stop her and Jinchen. Chu family mansion. The black car came to a steady stop. Chu Jinchen put one hand in his pocket and walked leisurely into the house. Before he entered, he heard old Master Chu's hearty laughter, accompanied by another voice. Wen Gongliang. Chu Jinchen smiled, his meaning unclear. He raised his feet. His black leather shoes stepped onto the gray carpet. The laughter in the living room stopped abruptly. Brat! Come here! Chu Cheating shouted. Grandpa, having a bad temper is not good for the liver, Chu Jinchen said as he leaned lazily on the sofa. His dark eyes met Wen Gongliang's bright ones, and the two of them smiled at each other. I haven't seen Jinchen for so long. You've matured a lot, Wen Gongliang praised with a smile. One does not hit a smiling face. Chu Jinchen also smiled. It's been some time since I have seen Uncle Wen and I must say you are looking younger than before. Ha ha ha, your Uncle Wen is old. I'm just a middle-aged man now. Wen Gongliang laughed and said. I can't tell. You're still very young, Chu Jinchen said with a smile. The two of them exchanged compliments back and forth. In the end, Chu Cheating interrupted helplessly. All right, we'll be family from now on. Let's not talk about formalities. A family. Chu Jinchen gave a faint smile. When Gongliang continued, Old Master is right. In 2 years, it will be Jinchen and Feifei's wedding. We will officially become in-laws. Chu Cheating laughed heartily. I've always been looking forward to Jinchen marrying Yufei. No one is more suitable for Jinchen than Yufei. When Old Master Chu said this, he did not forget to glare at Chu Jinchen. His words were a warning to him. He rested his hand on the armrest, the familiar smile still on his lips. Seeing that Chu Jinchen was silent, when Gongliang played along and said, Jinchen has been sensible and smart since he was young. He's only 28 years old, but he has already managed KT Group well. To have such a son. In-law, I can even laugh in my dreams. These two children are very outstanding. Just like what the fortune teller had said, they're a match made in heaven. Chu Cheating smiled. Seeing that Chu Jinchen did not speak, when Gongliang could not tell what he was thinking. After some consideration, when Gongliang looked at Chu Jinchen. You and Feifei are about to get married. It's only 2 years. Why don't you announce it first? Chu Jinchen remained silent. However, Chu Cheating spoke first, will publicizing it affect Yufei's career? No, that child can't wait to tell the world about her marriage with Jinchen. Old Master, you have to keep this a secret for me. Otherwise, Feifei will say that I leaked the secret. Of course, ha 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 ha. Chu Cheating laughed loudly. If Yufei is fine, then let's make it public and let everyone know about the marriage between our Wen and Chu families. When Gongliang also laughed very happily. Feifei wants to go to Country L to customize a wedding dress. I want to see when Jinchen is free. When the time comes, let the young couple go together. It can also nurture their relationship. He's definitely free. Let Feifei make the arrangements. Chu Cheating immediately made the decision for Chu Jinchen. When Gongliang then chatted with Chu Cheating about the details of the wedding. Finally, when Gong Liang turned his gaze to Chu Jinchen and asked with a smile, Jinchen, what do you think? Chapter 100 100 I don't plan to marry when Yufei. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. 100 I don't plan to marry when Yufei. I refuse. Chu Jinchen's lips slowly curled up. His thin lips parted slightly as he said word by word. The smile on Wen Gongliang's face disappeared. Jinchen, what do you mean? He means that he doesn't have time to accompany Yufei to customize a wedding dress. You know that this child is too ambitious, Chu Qidong quickly said. I see. Looks like I misunderstood, Wen Gongliang said with a smile. Uncle Wen didn't misunderstand. Chu Jinchen propped his chin on his hand and smiled casually. I don't intend to marry Wen Yufei. Bastard. Chu Qi poked the ground with his walking stick and glared at Chu Jinchen with his turbid eyes. This is not up to you. Chu Jinchen still had a smile on his face, but there was no warmth in his eyes. Old Master Chu, if the Chu family is unwilling, you can just say it. Our Feifei doesn't have to cling to Jinchen. Back then, it was also because of the fortune teller's words that I felt that these two children were fated. It's good that Feifei can help Jinchen. But now that Jinchen is unwilling, we don't have to force him. Our Wen family is not worthy of your family. Wen Gongliang's face was cold and his words were clear. Every word hit Chu Qidong's soft spot. Glancing at old Master Chu's anxious expression, he lowered his head and chuckled. Of course the Wen family needed the Chu family. However, the fortune teller had said that if Chu Jinchen did not marry Yufei at the age of 30, he would die an unnatural death. Better safe than sorry. He did not believe that anyone would not cherish their life. Wen Gongliang was confident of victory. He was certain that Chu Jinchen would lower his head first. Indeed, in the next second, Chu Jinchen said calmly, Uncle Wen is right. I was too rash. The marriage between the Wen and Chu families is a good thing. Wen Gongliang's eyes were filled with joy as he waited for Chu Jinchen to continue. He smiled with interest. Uncle Wen, you can see which cousin of mine you like. I'll introduce them to Yufei. Wen Gongliang. His expression froze as he looked at Chu Jinchen in disbelief. However, he still suppressed his anger. Jinchen, what do you mean? If Uncle Wen wants Yufei to marry only the heir of the Chu family, I'd have to choose carefully. There aren't many people in the Chu family who can sit in my position. Chu Jinchen. Chu Qidong roared. He was so angry that he had to take deep breaths. His hand trembled as he pressed it to his heart. Do you have to anger me to death before you're satisfied? Chu Jinchen looked up and the smile on his face gradually disappeared. His black eyes were even deeper than the night. Grandpa, it's not me who's making you angry. It's yourself. You. Chu Qidong's face turned pale and he swayed. The butler immediately steadied him. It took a while for old Master Chu to catch his breath. Are you all right, old master? Wen Gongliang asked worriedly. If Chu Qidong died, it would be even more impossible for Feifei to marry into the Chu family. It's fine. Chu Qidong waved his hand. Wen Gongliang was about to say something when his phone rang. He picked up the phone and looked at it. His eyes darkened and he clicked it off. Chu Jinchen smiled faintly. Why isn't Uncle Wen answering his phone? It's just work, not important, Wen Gongliang said. As soon as he said that, the phone vibrated again. He glanced down, his expression stunned. Glancing at Chu Jinchen, he said calmly, there's something urgent at the company. I'll go and return the call first. Go ahead. Chu Qidong waved his hand. After Wen Gongliang left, he questioned, is it because of that female celebrity that you don't want to get married? What if I say yes? Does Grandpa want to get rid of her? Chu Jinchen's eyes were cold, but his smile deepened. Chu Cheetung's body trembled. If you're really afraid I'll die an unnatural death, Grandpa, why don't you tell me who the murderer was 13 years ago? As soon as he said this, Old Master Chu was stunned on the spot. He subconsciously avoided Chu Jinshan's gaze. Chu Jinshan was not surprised. He said in a relaxed tone, "You're protecting the murderer, but you're forcing me to get married because you're afraid that I'll die an unnatural death. I'm doing this for your own good. Yufei knows everything about you. She's known you for so many years, but how long have you known that female celebrity for?" Chu Cheetung looked at the ground and said. Noel Dun compared to the beginning, he was more or less lacking in confidence now. After all the years I've known her, I still haven't fallen in love with her, much less marry her. "Miss Wen," came the maid's cry. Chu Jinshan and Chu Qi looked over and saw Wen Yufei sitting on the ground with tears in her eyes. Biting her lip, she suppressed her sadness and asked, "Are you unwilling to marry me even if there isn't Shi Ran?" Hearing this, Chu Jinshan narrowed his eyes and played with the phone in his hand. Fei Fei. When Wen Gongliang saw Wen Yufei crying on the ground, his heart ached. He went forward and helped her up. Wen Gongliang looked at Old Master Chu indifferently. "We've disturbed you today. We'll leave first." He left with Wen Yufei. In the car, Wen Yufei cried until she was out of breath. Wen Gongliang patted her back with heartache and comforted her gently, "He's just blinded by that vixen now, that's why he's obsessed with breaking off the engagement. Don't worry, with Dad around, I have a way to make Chu Jinshan completely give up on that vixen." Wen Yufei raised her red and swollen eyes. "Dad, when I just came, I heard that something happened to Shi Ran. Did you succeed?" At the mention of this, Wen Gongliang's expression immediately turned ugly. "She was saved and my men were sent to the police station by her." "The police station? Will they tell anyone about Dad? Will Jinshan know?" Wen Yufei grabbed his arm in panic. He soothed her. "Don't worry. My people are very tight-lipped and I have a way to get them out." Wen Yufei heaved a sigh of relief. Wen Gongliang smiled even more lovingly. "Don't worry, Fei Fei. Aren't you going to be on a variety show with Jinshan in a few days? Cultivate your relationship with him well. Leave that female celebrity to me." "Yes, thank you, Dad." Wen Yufei finally smiled. Shi Ran's apartment. She was now sitting in front of the computer, a white book beside her with strings of numbers written on it. She'd gotten those numbers from that phone's address book. Unfortunately, the other party was too cautious. The numbers were now all destroyed. Snow Manor. Shi Ran rubbed her chin, her eyes thoughtful. Although the numbers had been destroyed, the last known location was Snow Manor. What the hell was this place? There were a lot of videos stored in that phone. They also seemed to be related to Snow Manor. At the thought of this, she placed her fingers on the keyboard. Her fair hand formed a strong contrast against the black keyboard. Her expression was serious and she was extremely fast. She was even more focused than the last time Ji Wenfeng and the others saw her. Quickly, she succeeded in hacking into the Snow Manor's central control system. The secrets of Snow Manor were revealed to her. There were many missing persons cases in the Capita, last year, and almost all of them were women from out of town. And now the pictures and names of the women had become folders. "Ah! Help!" The woman's desperate voice kept ringing in Shi Ran's head. The video inside was even more bloody and terrifying than what she had seen on the phone. It wasn't just the missing persons case anymore. Shi Ran narrowed her eyes and suddenly had an idea.